This is the Water Quality Association podcast.
I consider it an incentive for the dealer or the dealer's representatives to try to learn more about it. There's no shortage of information, but there's a tremendous shortage of understanding of what contaminants in our drinking water supplies are dangerous and which are not.
That's WQA Hall of Fame member and WQA online instructor Peter Cartwright talking about the Consumer Confidence Report and how WQA members can help customers understand what it says about their water. And welcome to the podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. Find us at WQA.org. I'm Wes Bleed. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show, and be sure to share it with someone on your team. And a reminder, you can watch our podcasts on YouTube. In this episode of the Water Quality Association podcast, we're joined by chemical engineer, master water specialist, and WQA educator Peter Cartwright. Peter explains what consumer confidence reports contain, how they relate to federal drinking water standards, and why water treatment professionals should understand the reports issued in the communities they serve. We'll also discuss how these reports can help WQA members answer customer questions, explain emerging contaminants, and build credibility without resorting to fear or using the report simply as a sales tool. Plus, we'll have our WQA tip. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. Peter, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Wes.
You have extensive experience in water treatment. Can you briefly summarize especially for those who don't know you that well, what your background is?
Well, I am a chemical engineer by education. I've been in the industry for 52 years, primarily as a consultant.
We want to talk about the Consumer Confidence Report that municipalities are required to provide to their residents. Some may get it in the mail, some may be told that it's available online, but we wanted to touch on a couple of things regarding, first of all, how anyone, resident or member of WQA, can understand what it is, and then also for our members, particularly, Peter, how to best utilize the CCR when it comes to interacting with customers. So let's talk about what it is, first of all, and then we'll dive into some of the other questions.
All right. The Consumer Confidence Report, which is officially called the CCR, is a mandated document, mandated by the EPA, and it requires every municipal drinking water treatment authority, every municipal plant that is producing drinking water, quality water, to publish this, I guess you'd say, piece of information, technical information, and get it in the hands either by email or by mail, or get it in the hands of each one of their customers that is using this water supply. It's got a number of requirements with regard to what is tested for and how frequently it has to be published or tested for, and the information that is the type of information that is supplied on this document. In my experience, many of these end up as sales promotions too, bragging about the quality of their water and giving some valuable information, such as should the consumer need a water softener, should the consumer need a water filter, this sort of information. Obviously, it's slanted a little bit towards the drinking water treatment authorities themselves. It's to me, it's extremely important for members of WQA, the dealers themselves, to understand the CCRs that are in their areas, the locations where their customers are getting the drinking water from. I believe that the dealers and their employees that have direct relationships with the consumer should have read this consumer confidence report, understand it, and be very well prepared to answer questions. We all get a lot of mail from the government or municipalities, and we may or may not choose to read it. On the other hand, there may be some consumers that see something in it and it raises questions. And I think that that the members of the industry that are serving these customers should be well informed and be able to address any questions related to the CCR.
Yeah, I was going to say, Peter, as I'm listening to you talk about that it's very possible that many consumers pay no attention to it, don't read it, maybe they didn't even realize it was available. Maybe they've never even heard of it. But what are the most important sections that a homeowner should pay attention to, or anybody, a dealer should pay attention to for that matter?
Well, the primary intention, at least this is my feeling on the intention, is that the CCR should ensure or assure the reader that the drinking water that this municipality is producing meets the Safe Drinking Water Act. This is very detailed information about the contaminants in the water supply. And we have roughly 90 chemicals that are in drinking water supplies that are on what's called the primary drinking water standard. These are the chemicals that are dangerous to human health. Good example is arsenic. And the CCR has a few of these chemicals that must be put on, whether they're in the water or not, must be listed. But generally, I've never seen a CCR that lists all 90 or so of these primary drinking water chemicals. It also talks about the chemicals in the water that are not dangerous, that are on what we call a secondary standard, which means that they have not been associated with human health issues. The primary problem with the CCRs is that we have an estimated over 85,000 chemicals in our drinking water. The vast majority of these are organic compounds. And the EPA has only gone through the very, very rigorous risk assessment evaluation or studies for about 120 of them in total. So 120 out of 85,000. The CCR addresses primarily, almost entirely, these 120 or so that have been evaluated. And if there is a chemical that is on the primary drinking water list that is not prevalent, has been maybe never identified in a particular location, it may not be included. On the other hand, if there are chemicals in the area that are on the drinking water list, again, an example would be arsenic, it will be listed on there. There are some standards called the lead and copper rule, for example, that evaluate both copper and lead in drinking water supplies that primarily result not from normal natural water sources, but from problems within the distribution system. You've all heard of replacing lead pipes, for example, because lead is an extremely dangerous element. I believe that it's federal law that all municipalities include that particular study, the lead, what's called the lead copper rule. However, if there is a problem in a water supply, an example might be uranium, that does not exist in a particular location. You won't see uranium typically on a CCR.
So, Peter, I would assume then that there's maybe a misunderstanding in that the report might show that the water coming out of this municipal treatment facility meets or is within EPA standards, but that doesn't automatically mean there are no concerns about that water, correct?
Well, that gets into a very sticky situation, and that is that we know that, as I said, my perception is there are over 85,000 chemicals in the water, but with the vast, vast majority of them never having been evaluated, we don't know whether they are dangerous or not. It's kind of hard to believe that there aren't some that are dangerous, but they've never been evaluated yet. PFAS is a good example. It wasn't until, and I don't remember how many years ago, 20 years ago or so, that the analytical chemists were able to measure the tiny concentrations that PFAS are in. These are parts per trillion. A part per trillion is equivalent to 1 second in 32,000 years. But without our ability to measure these tiny concentrations, we would never have been able to identify the presence of PFAS. And they are a part of what are called emerging contaminants of concern. And there are, for example, over 6,000 PFAS in our water, all having been put in by human activity. They're not naturally occurring. But because we have this contaminated water, we now have to develop the technologies to be able to measure these tiny, tiny concentrations. And that the CCR is going to start including more and more of these as the analytical chemists at the laboratories are able to measure these.
Right. And it may not also, I'm trying to think in terms of the quality of the water, aesthetically, from a taste standpoint. The consumer might still want some sort of water treatment, even though the CCR says everything is fine coming out of the municipal treatment center, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And from my experience, CCRs are primarily to give the consumer assurance that the water they're drinking meets the water quality requirements mandated by the EPA. They all list two categories. Is this water in compliance or out of compliance? Virtually always, if it's out of compliance at all, which is very unusual, if it is, it's not because the water is contaminated with a dangerous chemical. It's because the laboratory may have missed a particular date at which they were supposed to have listed the test results or something. So the CCR lists what's in the water. It can be technically informative to a consumer who's so inclined to learn these things, but it only addresses those chemicals that have undergone this rigid risk assessment evaluation by extremely qualified toxicologists that determine whether a particular element or compound is of danger, is health related, and what that concentration above which water should not be consumed is. It's called the MCL, maximum contaminant level. But the CCR gives a good indication of the ability of the drinking water plant to meet the EPA Safe Drinking Water Act requirements.
Can a WQA member, a dealer, for example, make use of the consumer confidence report in having a conversation with a customer? And how might that look? What might that look like?
Well, yes, I think it's extremely important for a professional in the industry that is talking to a consumer to be able to answer any questions this consumer may have. And in many cases, the question results from the consumer reading the CCR and beginning to wonder. Some of the CCRs now mention emerging contaminants. They bring up the fact that there are tiny, tiny concentrations of chemicals that we have no knowledge of with regard to their health impacts on the human. And again, a good example would be the subject of PFAS. PFAS has been in the news and on social media relentlessly. It's gathered the attention of many people, and whether the CCR mentions PFAS or not, you might get a customer asking you as a dealer or a dealer representative about what is this PFAS? I don't know anything about it. So I think that, to me, the CCR can serve as a trigger to generate questions on the part of the consumer and to enhance your credibility as a professional. I believe that the dealer or his representatives should be able to answer it. There is a lot more education available through the Water Quality Association, their Certified Water Specialist educational program that I believe does provide a lot of answers to these. I'm one of the educators in this area, and I know we, for example, spend a whole hour-long lecture discussing just the CCR to make sure that all of the students in the class have a much better understanding of it. But we also, I might add, spend a lot of time talking about emerging contaminants, et cetera. In my opinion, the biggest problem we have is there's so little that we know about some of these trace contaminants in our drinking water. We don't know whether they're dangerous or not.
Well, I'm glad you brought up all the educational resources at WQA, and that certainly is a great point to mention. You know, our website, WQA.org. Go to the website, and there's plenty of education, the resources available. Sign up for a course. Get one of the courses with Peter or with some of the other instructors, and close the gap between the knowledge that you have and where you need to go. Right, Peter, in terms of handling questions, difficult questions in some cases when it comes to water quality in your area. Which brings me to the question, how to use the Consumer Confidence Report without simply appearing as though you're just trying to sell equipment. Is there a way to do that?
Well, I think that if I were challenged with that, I would use the Consumer Confidence Report to indicate to the customer, this is what is known in the industry. This is what the chemists, the water conditioning developers have learned, and this is what the industry knows, the EPA. They are constantly evaluating, running these risk assessment evaluations on new compounds. They by law have to look at X number of contaminants. I'm not sure how many, 6 maybe, every 3 years, and run through this rigorous evaluation. And this ends up either directly or indirectly on the Consumer Confidence Report. I look at that as being a document that is generated by the EPA. And of course, it's supplemented by statewide information. The states can establish a tighter limit on any contaminant in the CCR. If they have a problem with a particular contaminant in their area, the state may decide to put a lower limit on it. And many states have made this decision. So it's a source of information. It's a source of technical information. I consider it an incentive for the dealer or the dealer's representatives to try to learn more about it. There's no shortage of information, but there's a tremendous shortage of understanding of what contaminants in our drinking water supplies are dangerous and which are not.
Peter, very fascinating, and we are out of time, and I just want to make another plug for you and the other online instructors for WQA. Take advantage, folks, of the online education at WQA. Go to the website, as I mentioned before, wqa.org/education, and see the variety of courses and certifications that are available, and take advantage of it so that you can become more knowledgeable and more skilled in your understanding of things like the Consumer Confidence Report, which should be available now in your area. Make sure you, as Peter said, you're aware of what your Consumer Confidence Report says about the water in your area so that you can be more aware of the kind of questions that some of your customers might be asking. Peter, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Wes. Thank you for asking.
Our WQA tip. WQA members have access to the Member Learning Library, a new membership benefit offering exclusive training videos at no additional cost. The library features short, focused courses designed for busy water treatment professionals with topics that can help build knowledge and support real-world problem solving. Eligible courses also offer up to 0.25 CPD credit for WQA certified professionals. Go to wqa.org/membership and look for the link to the Member Learning Library. Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast. Learn more about water and water filtration at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org. And learn more about professional certification, the Gold Seal Product Certification Program, and how you can become a member at WQA.org.